Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling an absolutely crucial piece of ASC 360 property, plant, and equipment training, specifically Section 2, capitalization. Whether you're building a massive manufacturing facility from scratch or just fixing a jammed machine on the shop floor, every single dollar you spend forces a choice. Do you capitalize it as an asset or expense it right away? It sounds like a simple binary choice, sure, but as we're going to see, this decision is literally the foundation of accurate financial reporting. Get it right, and your financials perfectly mirror economic reality. Get it wrong? Well, you might just distort the entire financial picture of the company.
Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, the high-stakes decision. Second, what goes into cost. Third, the four-question framework. Fourth, subsequent costs after use. And finally, final journal entry patterns. Let's get right to it.
So let's dive into Section 1, the high-stakes decision. This is honestly the biggest choice you'll make in PP&E accounting.
As accounting professionals, your whole journey is about correctly navigating the rules to dodge the ultimate villain, profit misstatement. Every expenditure is essentially a fork in the road, and the path you choose fundamentally alters both the balance sheet and the income statement. Take a look at capitalizing in error. If you capitalize a cost that should have been expensed, you're artificially overstating your assets, and because you didn't recognize that expense, you're artificially inflating your profits. That's a massive red flag for auditors. But you know, expensing an error isn't exactly a safe bet either. If you expense something you should have capitalized, you understate your assets and deflate your current profits. Both paths are outright errors that totally skew the bottom line. Accuracy isn't just nice to have here, it's absolutely mandatory.
Moving right along to Section 2, what goes into cost, covering the initial recognition rules.
We're in the acquisition phase of the asset's life cycle now. You've decided to buy or build a piece of equipment, but the boundary of what actually goes into that asset's capitalized cost, that is frequently misunderstood. It's rarely just the sticker price. The golden rule revolves around the definition of historical cost. It includes all costs necessary to acquire the asset and, this is absolutely critical, bring it to the condition and location required for its intended use. That "and" is doing a whole lot of heavy lifting. If you buy a giant industrial press, you obviously can't use it while it's sitting out in the vendor's parking lot. The transportation, the site prep, pouring a reinforced concrete foundation, the electrical installation, those are all necessary to get it ready. So they're all capitalized right into the historical cost. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between necessary setup costs and what gets excluded. Included costs are things like the purchase price, import duties, site prep, installation, and even capitalized interest on construction loans for qualifying assets. They directly build the asset's readiness. On the flip side, what's excluded? General and administrative overhead because it's just not directly attributable to this specific asset. Startup operating losses or abnormal waste are also excluded. Inefficiencies aren't a necessary cost of acquiring an asset. And, importantly, any cost you incur after the asset is already ready for use? Excluded. By definition, the asset is already in its intended condition.
But hey, here's a massive trap you need to watch out for. Employee training to operate new equipment is always expensed. Always. I see this trip people up all the time. A company buys a multi-million-dollar software system, spends 50 grand training the staff, and thinks, well, we can't use it without trained staff, let's capitalize it. No. As much as we love our teams, humans are not property, plant, and equipment. You literally can't depreciate Bob from the warehouse, right? The cost has to attach directly to the physical asset itself, not the people operating it.
All right, let's look at Section 3, the four-question framework. Consider this your ultimate weapon for capitalization.
If you ever find yourself second-guessing whether an expenditure should be capitalized or expensed, just run it through this framework. Think of it as a strict sequential gauntlet that every single dollar has to pass. Step 1. Does the cost meet your entity's capitalization threshold? If the policy is $5,000 and the cost is $500, stop right there. Expense it. Step 2. Does it provide future economic benefit beyond the current period? Step 3. Is the cost directly attributable to getting the asset to its intended location and condition? And Step 4. Is the asset actually held for use in operations, meaning it's not just inventory for sale or an investment property?
Now, here is the absolute, non-negotiable rule. All four of those questions must be answered yes. If you hit a single no anywhere in that chain, boom, the cost is expensed immediately. It doesn't matter if it passes 3 out of the 4, it has to be a unanimous yes across the board. Honestly,
Keep this framework taped to your monitor. It'll save you from so many capitalization errors.
Which brings us to Section 4, Subsequent Costs After Use. Time to navigate the murky waters of post-acquisition.
So we're shifting our timeline. The asset has been acquired, installed, and it's humming along beautifully on the factory floor. But, assets break down, they need upgrades. This is where navigating the rules gets notoriously tricky and where your professional judgment is really put to the test. Every time a new bill crosses your desk for an existing asset, you have to ask, does this cost extend or enhance the asset beyond its original estimated condition? If yes, you capitalize it. Or does it simply maintain the existing condition and keep it running as originally intended? If so, you expense it. Extend or enhance equals capitalize. Maintain equals expense. Simple as that.
Let's rapid fire through some real-world examples to really lock this in. Routine repairs, like replacing worn belts, or an annual paint job? Expense. You're just maintaining it. A major overhaul, like totally replacing the engine of a delivery truck to extend its useful life by 5 years? Capitalize. An improvement or betterment, maybe adding a new floor to a building or upgrading a machine to double its widget output? Capitalize. An adaptation, like converting an old warehouse into a shiny new retail storefront? Capitalize, because you're fundamentally changing its purpose. And finally, component replacement. If you separately track an HVAC system and replace it, you capitalize the new one. But, and this is key, remember to de-recognize the old one.
Okay, I need to shatter a super common, honestly dangerous assumption right here. Watch out. Size alone does not make a cost capitalizable. I've literally seen teams try to capitalize a massive $500,000 facility repainting project just because $500,000 feels like a capital expenditure. It's not. No matter how many zeros are on that invoice, if it's just restoring the asset to its normal operating condition, it's a routine maintenance expense. The test is always about extending the asset's life or capacity, never just the sheer dollar amount.
And finally, Section 5, Final Journal Entry Patterns. Let's bring it all to the ledger.
We've covered the concepts, we've navigated the frameworks, and now it's time to see how these yes or no decisions actually hit your accounting system. If you determined a cost was a major improvement, meaning it passed that 4-question framework we talked about, you're debiting a balance sheet asset account, like PP&E, and crediting cash or AP. That cost is then slowly depreciated over time. But if you determined it was routine maintenance, you're debiting an income statement expense account directly, like repairs and maintenance expense, and crediting cash or AP. The cash outflow is exactly the same in both scenarios, but your initial yes or no decision routes those dollars to completely different financial statements.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time a massive, eye-watering repair bill hits your desk, what's your first instinct going to be? Are you going to be distracted by the huge dollar amount, or will you ask the only question that truly matters? Did this extend the asset's life or capacity? Armed with the frameworks we've gone through today, you know exactly what to look for. Keep these concepts front and center, and you're going to navigate the capitalization decision perfectly every single time. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep learning.